So I wanted to talk a little bit about the Nintendo Direct conference at this year's E3 and my thoughts and just what I thought about all of it. Frankly, I thought it was pretty good. Personally, as myself as a gamer, I thought it was a really good conference. They have had other Nintendo Directs which I thought were I mean, most Nintendo Directs have about one or two cool things and then they kind of putter out. But this one I thought really fired on all cylinders. They started in with the robot chicken thing, which I thought was actually funny. Like, not just like the figurine the other year where they had the little guy that was the character that kind of, they had the figure of, and it was this play on the character coming alive. I mean, it was alright, but I wasn't exactly like rolling on the floor laughing about it. I was just like, yeah, okay, it's a thing, he's a figure, he's alive. But the whole robot chicken thing was, not only is it funny because I love Robot Chicken, but I think it's very unusual for Nintendo because usually Nintendo is one of those seen as kind of family-friendly companies, and not only that, but they don't really laugh at themselves that much. And the whole Robot Chicken thing was completely laughing into like satire. And you had Peach with Bowser, and Bowser was like, "Hey, sorry about the whole kidnapping thing. Do you want that last donut?" And Peach is like, "No," and she's ticked at him because Bowser keeps kidnapping her. And so they had one where Star Fox was talking to Little Mac about, like, why do you keep wearing those gloves if you can't do anything with them? And Little Mac's in denial, going, no, I'm fine, and spilling coffee all over himself. And it's just like they're poking fun at themselves. And then the best one was then Reggie's on stage, quote unquote, as a little stop motion character with Mario in a Fire Flower outfit, and there's a heckler in the crowd who starts heckling about Mother 3. And as he heckles, Reggie gets ticked off and pretty much burns the guy alive with Mario's fireballs. So not only was it super violent, but surprisingly they brought up Mother 3, which usually Nintendo's like, oh no, we don't talk about Mother 3, that doesn't. And they made fun of themselves for the whole fact that they don't like talking about Mother 3, which I thought was very self-satirizing and relevant. It just was surprising because Nintendo usually doesn't do that. So I thought the whole Robot Chicken thing for the whole conference was, it not only was it funny, but it poked fun of themselves. Enough said. They started up with Smash Brothers, of course, which I thought was a great start. I mean, you gotta start up with something big. With everything they've had coming out this year with Sony and Microsoft, you gotta come off hitting big. You gotta come up with the thing that everybody's been waiting for, which is Smash Brothers. And the whole Reggie Iwata thing where they're fighting together like Dragon Ball Z style, I thought was kind of cool. And then they got into talking about the Miis and how those work, which I thought was really cool because they gave a little more detail about it and how you actually aren't just like fighting a generic character, how they get different styles, like a hand-to-hand, sword combat, and a gunner, which I thought, okay, now they're gonna really make for more customizability. They had some of the development team talk about it as far as like the fighting styles, and you could really tell that they were thinking about using the Miis as an actual fighter, not as just like, oh, we're gonna throw in this token Mii thing. They really, it seemed like they wanted to bring it in as a viable character to play as. Whether people play as it, I don't know, but I thought it was a smart move that they're putting effort into it. Of course, then they brought in the whole amiibo thing in the Smash Brothers. These little figures that are like Skylanders that you can put onto the little NFC pad on the Wii U gamepad, and it transfers the characters in, which I love those things. I don't have Skylanders or the Disney's Infinity, but I like little Nintendo figures, so I'm probably gonna buy all of them and be poor because I just am a sucker for little Nintendo figurines. They showed it being incorporated into the Mii fight when Iwata was fighting Reggie. I don't know how that's gonna incorporate because it showed Mario being in there, but Mario is already in the game, so I don't know exactly, like, is it an extra powerful Mario? Does he have special powers? Of course, they talked about the whole thing where you get to save data not only to the game from the amiibo, but from the game to the amiibo, so it evolves with it, which is cool. And then they talked about how that will also incorporate into Mario Kart 8, and then in other games, which they didn't really go into detail with. The other thing, of course, was the kind of a letdown that Smash Brothers for the 3DS was going to be delayed till fall instead of coming out in the summer. Of course, they said, well, you know, they're trying to develop it and tune it, which I can understand because it's for a handheld. I I've got to imagine that's going to be difficult to try to make right, and I know they want to make it a good version. So, I mean, I'm let down by it, but at the same point, I'm going, hey, if you need till fall, what can you do? It is what it is. It's a letdown, but hopefully the extra time they'll devote to it will actually make it a better game. And then they got into the whole, not only with the Mii's, you creating your own Mii's, but talking about like actually creating characters from outside the game, which I thought was actually kind of interesting. They had, I think it was Ice-T and a couple other people, which I don't know if they got their rights to the likeness, but they created custom characters that looked like Ice-T and other like famous celebrities, which I thought was kind of creative, because that's what everybody does anyway. Everyone's like, cool, I'll put Macho Man Randy Savage in my game and I can play as him. And so I thought it was kind of cool. They acknowledged the fact that, yeah, you're probably going to program, you know, beating the crap out of Al Gore or something like that, I don't know, which was kind of neat. And then they went more into further detail about the amiibo, kind of talking about how it's going to work, and then showed some more of the characters. I know it's probably going to be like Skylanders, it's probably going to be like Infinity, but it's Nintendo themed, and it's going to work with Nintendo games, so I'm more curious how it's going to work, because Skylanders and Infinity really work within one universe and one game. I mean, I know they open up new possibilities like Infinity with the toy box, and you get different levels, but I'm curious as to how these different amiibos are going to work with different games, and like how they'll work with cross-compatibility, and how using Mario in Smash Brothers is going to be different than using Mario in Mario Kart. So again, not a lot of details. Looks cool. Yeah, we'll see when it comes out. Then, of course, the other thing that I was really excited about was they talked about Bayonetta 2, which that is the game. Like this, not only for the Wii U, just like this whole year. This whole year, that's the game. That's the whole. I played it at PAX last year. I'm excited for this year. I'll be excited for next year. I'll be excited for 10 years from now. Game looks really amazing. I was super impressed by the trailer they came out with. It was dark. It was gritty. It was Bayonetta. They didn't censor it and try to make it like, oh, it's kid friendly. You know, don't mind the boobs and the guns. They were like, oh, it's boobs and guns. And then, of course, the big announcement that the first Bayonetta was going to be on there as a complete collection, and they're going to have unlockable Peach costumes, Link costumes, and Samus costumes, which will also come with their own like trappings. They showed like a little bit of when you're fighting in the Link costume, you're going to open up barrels, there's going to be rupees in them, and then when you put a key into the door, there's going to be the unlocking sound, which I hope that actually happens. I hope that wasn't just something cool they did for the video. I actually hope they have those like little touches and trappings of Nintendo games into there, which I thought was cool. And then, of course, later on confirmed was the fact that the Bayonetta one's going to be at 60 frames a second. There's dual language. Like, it just feels like there's a lot of love being put into this, and that Bayonetta 2 is it. That is the game for the Wii U. More than Smash Brothers, more than anything else, Bayonetta 2 is the one I was really excited about. They talked about Yoshi's Woolly World, which is, you know, kind of a spiritual successor to Kirby's Epic Yarn. I really like, the best part I liked about it is they had the two developers, or two people from the development team, sitting in what looked like a yarn shop, just like tons of yarn in the background, and they had these, you know, just spools of them everywhere of all kinds of different colors, and they were talking about the inspiration behind the game and why they did what they did, and how they came up with the handmade look, and it was just really refreshing to see these two people just talk about the game. And there wasn't like, I didn't hear about like, you know, this talk about technology and butt mapping. It was just like, you know, playing with the yarn and how do we make it look real and how do we make it interact with the world. And it just felt like these were two people who genuinely love this game and genuinely want to make it look believable with yarn. And, you know, they had the whole thing where Yoshi's eggs are now yarn balls, which is, I think, kind of a cool thing, and they take different shapes and forms throughout the level. The game, it's the Yoshi game, I'm, of course, going to buy it. I'm a Nintendo fan, but I also love Yoshi, and then, of course, Epic Yarn, so it looks great, and I thought it was just, it had that charm to it that I was watching and playing it, and I genuinely was like, yeah, I want to play this game. It looks charming, it looks interesting. So, yeah, Yoshi's Woolly World, that's a definite game I'm interested in. Of course, the biggest announcement of the whole day, I felt, even past Smash Brothers, and even past my love of Bayonetta, was The Legend of Zelda coming out in 2015. And, I mean, the way they opened to it, I thought was actually pretty clever. They open up, and it's just huge landscape, and you've got grass and grasslands as far as the eye can see, mountains in the distance, this really lush environment, and kind of just into the distance is this horse with a rider, and you can tell it's Link. And you've got, then one of the producers comes in and starts talking about a new Zelda coming in 2015. And again, it was just really cool to hear them talk about it, because they talked about a lot of the challenges in the last Zelda game. And they made an example, like with Wind Waker, about how all of the dungeons seem to have a logical entrance and exit. You know, in Wind Waker, it was a huge world, but it was really a lot of little areas, a lot of little segregated areas and dungeons all spread out. So it felt like a big world, but he oddly admitted, he was pretty much saying, hey, you know, we understand that we pretty much tricked it. We pretty much pulled a fast one in that, yeah, it's big, but these are really just little segregated areas with an entrance and an exit, and that's it. Which I thought was, you know, I mean, everybody knows that, but they actually acknowledged it. And what they said in this trailer is they're talking about, like, that mountain in the background, you can actually get to that mountain. No longer are things in the background just things in the background for you to look at. And not only that, they made, like, references, and they were inferring that when you go to that mountain, that there's not going to just be one exit and entrance. That depending on how you approach the mountain and where you come at it from, there's going to be different entrances. Some could be more difficult or easier to get to depending on where you go at it from. And it almost kind of felt like a Skyrim kind of open world thing, which I'm not the biggest fan of Skyrim, but I do like the idea of Skyrim, the fact that it's open world. I mean, you pretty much just go anywhere and you're there. And so taking Zelda out of this very level-like, you know, small screen by screen or dungeon by dungeon or area by area and opening it up, I don't know. I've never seen it done because it's the first one that's going to do it, but I am really looking forward to seeing how they're going to pull that off, because I think of any game that deserves an open world treatment, it's Zelda. That to me has been one of my first adventure games, and to see it kind of push into a more modern era where you're going to be able to explore anywhere, I think is probably the best thing that could happen in the series. And then of course you see the grass flowing, and then you see Link ride off, and then this huge boss battle ensues, and this like crab spider-like monster thing starts attacking what, again, I'll talk about later, looks like Link. And then they have the scene where Link, you know, he kind of corners Link here by the water, and he just jumps off, pulls like this bow and arrow up, and this huge glowing arrow thing starts electrifying and coming apart, and it, you know, shoots, and then it, you know, cuts to black. Which now there's a lot of talk about, you know, the fact that people are like, well, is that Link? You know, it was in blue. Is it a girl? Is it a guy? I don't know. But I mean, either way, I'm really looking forward to it just because of the open world direction they're going to take it in. So that was really cool, and I think that's going to be a huge game for Nintendo in 2015. They also went to talk about the Mario Maker, which they kind of inferred a little bit before, and pretty much is like Mario Paint with Mario characters and stuff. And I'm really looking forward to like the user-made levels, because I know there's going to be a ton of levels that are going to be like, I want to be that guy, you know, where they're going to just be death traps, and everywhere you go is going to kill you, and they're going to be impossibly difficult puzzles. So I kind of want to see what people come up with, and it just looks really cool. The fact that you can switch from like an old 8-bit Mario to a new Mario 3D is kind of cool, and you just switch to it on the fly, which is a real neat thing. And I just think it's kind of a neat way to take a Mario game where they're like, we've kind of done everything we can with Mario, why don't we let them make a Mario game? Okay, well, sounds good to me. They did talk about a new game they're creating, the Splatoon, I'm forgetting this, I'm not getting the right name at the moment, but it's a game where, it's a new IP, and it's a game where you take like these colored guns and you're able to spray paint everywhere, and it's like a third-person shooter game, and whoever shoots the most paint wins, and you can dip in and out of the paint you've sprayed down in order, like a little squid, in order to access areas. Looks like a cool game. Looks like a cool game, but you know, when I'm thinking of like new Nintendo IPs, I mean, I know it looks like a cool game, but I don't think this is the new IP Nintendo's needing. If Nintendo's trying to get new fans, a third-person paint shooting game, I don't know if that's the best new IP to bring out. Will it be fun? Probably. Will it bring in a lot of new players? I doubt it. I think the other games they announced earlier in the day are going to bring more people in than that game. I think Splatoon? Sorry, I'm just forgetting the name. But, I mean, it looks cool. We'll just have to see what it does when it comes out. But I doubt it's going to be a really long-running franchise, just myself. They showed some of the eShop games, which look cool. I mean, there's like a whole ton of them. Gunman Clive 2. They've got a pretty good list of them. Some of them I wasn't really interested in, but, you know, it was neat to see a little bit of a focus on the 3DS. Speaking of that, a lot of the focus is on the Wii U, which, personally, I think was the right decision. I think they should have focused on the Wii U, because as we've seen in the last few months, the Wii U sales-wise has kind of been lagging behind. So the 3DS I think is doing fine. They did talk about Pokemon, you know, the new Pokemon coming out, which I know everybody's Pokemon fan is gonna love. They showed some footage. It was, you know, it was Pokemon. It was cool, new Pokemon. I'm not the biggest Pokemon fan, but hey, it's Pokemon. It's gonna be great. But that was like, there was a few 3DS things with 3Shop and then Pokemon, but they really focused on the Wii U, and I think they need to continue to do that to push it forward to people, that as these console generations mature and the PS4 and the Xbox One gets more steam, they really need to pull people in like now. And I think this was a good Nintendo Direct in the fact that they did have good games. Of course, you know, part of the argument could be made, and I was talking that to Sean about the fact that, you know, it was a good conference, but is it a conference that's going to pull people in? And that's, you know, there's the fan in me that's like, that was great, you know, it was a really great conference, it was really great. And then the reserved, logical, reasoning person in me wants to say, but is it doing what it's supposed to do? You know, like from a marketing standpoint, is the E3 Direct going to bring new people in to play Nintendo consoles? That's debatable. I mean, for me, if I saw all this stuff and I didn't own a Nintendo console, I'd buy it. But of course, I love Nintendo and I already have a Wii U, so the point is mute. But I do think there's a lot of good games. There were some games that weren't highlighted, like some of Miyamoto stuff and the Star Fox game, which may have made a bigger impact. Maybe they should have shown more stuff. Maybe they should have revealed more. But all in all, the real core of the entire Nintendo Direct, for me at least, was that these were people talking about games. Games. It was games. What's the new games? What's the new games? They did, I mean, besides the Amiibo, I didn't see a lot of like gimmicks and, well, here's this new peripheral or here's this new... It was just about, here's some great games coming out, and this is why we love them, and this is why we're creating them. And I just felt that everybody who was talking about these games really loved it. I mean, there was a passion behind it. Whereas in a lot of the other E3 events, there was that love, but there's also just like technology. I mean, they were doing an example of Assassin's Creed Unity, and that looks like a great game, but the guy was literally walking around with the character the entire time and talking about like the new technology with the graphics and the shading and all this. And frankly, I'm just going, I like to see the game being played. Can I see you stabby some people and kill some people? And it was just, I'm cool with the technology, I'm down with it, but to a point we get it. It's a new technology, it looks great. Okay, let's like, what does the game do and how do I play this? That's why I want to see this. And I do appreciate the fact that Nintendo did focus on the games. So, like I said, all in all, I thought it was really successful at E3 Direct. They had, you know, afterwards the Nintendo Treehouse. They were, of course, they just had today. They're focused on their Monster Hunter, doing videos on a lot of the Smash Brothers, which they had the Mega Man Smash, where they had all 5 Mega Mans come in and shoot the blasters. And my inner geek was like, hey, Mega Man, he's shooting blasters. And so I was really excited. But all in all, I really did like it, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they're going to do, especially now that PAX is coming out, and actually being able to play some of the demos of these games to see what they're going to be like. Of course, I've got a little bit of an overview more at the site. You can go check out the link below, and tell us your thoughts. Like, what did you think of the conference? Is Nintendo successful? Personally, did you like it? And do you think this is going to push Nintendo forward to be not only popular from a social standpoint, but financially? So post in the comments below. Let us know. And of course, if you just came here to stop by and check it out, subscribe, rate, comment, give us some love. And as always, much appreciated. Thank you for your patronage. And we'll see you next time.